Ada Lovelace entered the world already carrying a burden she never asked for. Born on December 10, 1815, she was the only legitimate child of the infamous poet Lord Byron, a man whose scandals echoed through every corridor of Regency England. To the public, he was a genius draped in brilliance. To those closer to him, he was chaos incarnate, destructive, magnetic, and impossible to contain. His marriage to Annabella Milbank had already stunned society. She was everything he wasn't: logical, precise, morally rigid, almost cold in her devotion to mathematics. Byron mocked her as the Princess of Parallelograms, a cruel nickname that hinted at the fault lines beneath their marriage. Just weeks after Ada's birth, that fragile marriage collapsed. Buried under debts and disgrace, Byron abandoned England and his newborn daughter forever. Ada would never hear his voice or feel his presence, except through the rumors that haunted her childhood. Her mother, terrified that Ada might inherit Byron's wild imagination or rumored insanity, launched a strict campaign to suppress anything creative within her daughter. Mathematics, discipline, and relentless structure became Ada's prison walls. But control is not love. In public, Lady Byron played the role of a devoted mother. In private, she kept Ada at an emotional distance. Perhaps Ada reminded her of the man she despised, or perhaps she feared what Byron's bloodline might produce. Whatever the reason, Ada grew up in a household where affection was rationed, like medicine, carefully measured and rarely offered. Her health only complicated things further. Brutal migraines blurred her vision. A devastating case of measles left her paralyzed for nearly a year. Most children would have broken under such isolation, but Ada's mind sharpened. At 12, she declared she would study flight, and she did. She observed birds, drafted wing designs, analyzed materials from feathers to silk, and compiled a small book she titled Flyology. While other children played, Ada was already engineering. Yet loneliness carved deep spaces inside her, spaces that craved freedom. At 17, she began a secret affair with her tutor. They planned to elope, but the plan collapsed when his family realized who she was and informed Lady Byron. The scandal was buried quietly. Ada was dragged home, heartbroken, her brief taste of independence crushed. But fate was preparing her for something far greater. Mary Somerville entered Ada's life shortly afterward, a mathematician, a scholar, and the first true friend Ada had ever known. Somerville nurtured the brilliance that others feared. Through her, Ada met the man who would change the course of her destiny, Charles Babbage. At a London party in 1833, Somerville introduced the 17-year-old Countess Dubé to Babbage, a middle-aged inventor with a restless intellect. He spoke passionately about his difference engine, a machine designed to compute complex equations automatically, a radical idea in an age when computers were human beings. Something inside Ada ignited. Their conversation lasted the entire evening. Stunned by her intellect, Babbage invited Ada to view his prototype. The moment she saw it, she became obsessed. He later called her the Enchantress of Numbers, a title that captured her rare blend of mathematical precision and creative imagination. She visited him often, diving into ideas with a passion that few women of her time were permitted to express. And while she navigated high society with elegance, charming columnists, attending glittering gatherings, her mind lived somewhere else entirely. When Ada suddenly announced her engagement to William King, it shocked London. But marriage brought her new titles, Lady King, and later, Countess of Lovelace. the name history would remember. Motherhood, however, slowed her pursuit of mathematics. 3 pregnancies drained her strength, but not her ambition. In stolen moments between illness and family duties, she wrote to Babbage again, exploring theories of mechanical computation. She even wondered whether card games like solitaire could be broken into mathematical patterns, a radical thought at the time. Babbage urged her to publish her ideas, but Ada hesitated. Victorian society had little patience for scientific women. What would they say if a countess dared to enter a man's domain? She refused him repeatedly until destiny intervened. She was asked to translate an Italian paper by Luigi Manobria about Babbage's newest invention, the analytical engine. Ada agreed, believing it would be simple work. But translating wasn't enough. As she studied the text, she began adding notes, expansions, explanations, and ideas far beyond Manabria's paper. By the end, her notes were 3 times longer than the original. One of them, Note G, would rewrite history. Ada realized the analytical engine wasn't merely a calculator. It was a machine that could follow instructions. In other words, a programmable device. In Note G, she described how it could be used to compute Bernoulli numbers using an ordered set of operations. It was the world's first algorithm meant for a machine. She had essentially invented computer programming a century before computers existed. Yet society was more interested in her lineage than her genius. Critics dismissed her work as Babbage's ideas filtered through a fashionable aristocrat. Even Babbage frustrated her, often focusing more on complaining than appreciating her contributions. Their friendship strained, and for years they barely spoke. Meanwhile, Ada's personal struggles grew darker. She inherited Byron's appetite for thrill and found it in gambling. To her, gambling wasn't entertainment, it was mathematics. She constructed an elaborate model to predict horse race outcomes, convinced she had solved chance itself. She hadn't. The losses were catastrophic. Debt drowned her, forcing her to confess everything to her husband. The stress, shame, and arguments shattered her fragile health. By the early 1850s, cancer had invaded her body. Doctors bled her, dosed her with opiates, tried experimental treatments. Nothing helped. Pain consumed her. Her mind, however, continued to chase impossible questions. She dreamed of building a calculus of the brain, a mathematical map of human thought. She visited the scientist Andrew Cross in 1844, hoping electricity might unlock answers. The project remained unfinished, haunting her final years. Her family life deteriorated. Her eldest son ran away and died young. Her daughter, Annabella, fled to the Middle East. Her youngest son stayed behind to inherit the estate. And in her final months, her mother seized complete control, restricting visitors, letters, even reading material. Ada, too weak to fight, returned to the emotional cage of her childhood. Then came the confession. On August 30th, 1852, Ada summoned her husband. Trembling, she revealed a secret so devastating that William stood up, walked away, and never returned. No one knows what she said. Some believe she confessed to infidelity with John Cross, the man whose letters she asked him to burn, the man who inherited all of Byron's belongings. 3 months later, Ada Lovelace died in agony at 36. Her funeral was small. Neither Babbage nor Lady Byron attended. In one final act of rebellion or longing, she chose to be buried beside the father she never met. A century later, the world finally understood what Ada had done. Her notes were rediscovered and her vision revealed as prophetic. She had seen the digital age long before it existed. She once wrote to Babbage, "That brain of mine is something more than merely mortal." History proved her right.